Yes, it is mid to late February, and we're just now getting into my 2024 comic wand list, but that's okay, because as I say, it's better late than never, so let's get into it. Welcome back, comic fans. Here we are, finally getting into my 2024 comic wand list. Long overdue, been making notes for this for some time now, finally narrowed it down to my top 10, and then got a couple other broader categories I'm going after, as well as at least one, two honorable mentions. I'll do two because this comics, we're going to have some fun with it. So, yeah, some of these I have been kind of eyeing and kind of spotting. A couple of them I almost picked up within, like, even right after I made the list or added them to the list. So we're gonna jump right into the honorable mentions. One is a smaller book, so I was like, it's not big enough to matter as far as grand scheme, but it's a cooler book I could probably pick up at any time. Captain America #6, first appearance of the Winter Soldier from the 2004 2005 run. I think it's 2004. Ed Brubaker, Steve Epting, that fantastic run. I can't remember if Steve Epting actually started the series. I know he did some work on it, but I want to pick up that issue just because obviously big Cap fan, like Winter Soldier in that run, still working on that run. And Captain America as a whole is one of my main series, so still doing all of his runs there. The other honorable mention is a much bigger book. You know, my girl Supergirl, Action Comics 252. Her first appearance way back when it was 1959. Probably not picking that up this year, but every so often kind of looking at it, kind of checking out the prices and different books that are available. So if I come across it, who knows? We'll see what happens. But it's not one that I'm like, all right, I'm definitely probably going to get this book this year. But you never know. Just kind of peek the prices. So that's that. Now we get into, I got a couple of broader categories that I am going to be looking out for this year. You already know one of them, so I'll leave that one for last. But some of the books, because I got several conventions on the calendar this year, and obviously eBay, hitting some new shops this year as well at some point during some of my travels. So one of the categories I'm going to be looking at is some more Golden Age books. You know, we know all over YouTube it's all about pre-code horror and all the big name cover artists, but I'm talking about some books that I actually want to find a way to read as well. But then there are just some other things, especially within the crime, uh, anything involved with like detectives, crime, spy stuff, thriller, uh, and some sci-fi stuff as well. Just a lot of different things like that. Some super Golden Age superheroes as well. So nothing too specific outside of some Shazam stuff I want, because I just want to read some of those stories, and there's a couple of those other categories or genres as I mentioned before. Obviously horror is a big thing, but I don't care too much about the horror stuff. So definitely looking more towards a crime and thriller type thing. So those are genres there. Some other main ones, G.I. Joe and Spawn. A couple specific issues, G.I. Joe 1 and G.I. Joe 21, but otherwise just kind of still filling out my G.I. Joe run. I kind of put it on the back burner. It wasn't really a priority. It hasn't been in some years, but it is a run I'm always looking to catch up on. Those two issues specifically. Spawn, still working on my Spawn run. It's one of my main titles I've always held near and dear since I was a kid in the 90s. And then a couple issues that I had on my list were in the 250s, just because those issues I think might have been a lower print run and don't come across them as often. So I think I'm probably 4 issues left in that string of issues there. So we'll picking those. If I catch them at a nice price, I'll pick them up. But again, not a major priority. And the biggest category, as I've already mentioned in a few videos now, Amazing Spider-Man is going to be big I'm going to be hunting Amazing Spider-Man big for 2024. And I've already kind of started. As I closed out 2023, you already saw some of those books. But in some of those books, half of my top 10 is Amazing Spider-Man books, as expected. As I said, I'm going to be putting a lot of energy and focus, the same way as I've done X-Men issues in previous years, or within the last 2 years or so, give or take, as I just completely just smashed X-Men stuff. So gonna be looking to do the same with this Amazing Spider-Man, especially sub 100 issues. So Silver Age and get into the early Bronze Age there. So that's gonna be fun. So looking forward to that. All right, now let's get into the top 10. 10 through 2, and not really in a particular order, but they are kind of grouped together by title. And then number 1, some of you should already know. If you've been following me for any amount of time, you already can guess. You should already be able to guess what number 1 is going to be. So number 10 on my 2024 comic wand list is Fantastic Four number 52, That's right. First appearance of T'Challa, the Black Panther. You can see this here. So I do have some images of all the books, so you can kind of get a nice little visual aid. But yes, this is one I have been looking at in recent months, and it almost snagged a copy. The price has come down significantly within recent years, which is perfect, right up my alley. I can get a book I want and pay less than what I could have several years ago. So I'm always for that. So here's hoping. Keep on. Let's bring all those books prices down. This is purely time for collectors. Hopefully, let the prices come down. Let all the collectors kind of cherish and revel in that. So I'm all for that. And move on to Captain America, because you know Captain America is another one of my titles. Captain America 117. First appearance, Sam Wilson, aka Falcon. Yes, you see this here. So after the Cap relaunch, and well, not really relaunch, but retitling Tales of Suspense from 100, from 99, Captain America 100 and on. So a few issues later, hey, look at this, Captain America and the Falcon, a character who became just quite endearing and tied to Cap forever, became Captain America. And yeah, so looking forward to adding that issue to my run. This is another one I have researched a little bit, kind of spotted some copies, looking at some prices, different conditions, graded, raw, all that good stuff there, sometimes a custom label. So gonna be doing some more research and kind of checking out those, especially again with a bunch of conventions on deck this year. Gonna have plenty of opportunities to spot some of those copies. So I'm anticipating realistically bringing that one home. And most of these books outside of number one are all extremely realistic. And yeah, number one is just gonna be the big one. That's why it's number one. So moving on, number 8, Amazing Spider-Man number 300. Seen this cover 8 million times. It's been homage forever. I'm honestly kind of sick of it. I just want the book just to fill out my Amazing Spider-Man run. It is I guess the quote-unquote first full appearance or whatever for Venom. And even though I guess he did kind of appear in 299, which I do have, it's just weird comic market nonsense that everybody kind of ruined. But I digress. Amazing Spider-Man 300. Hoping to spot a copy of this one. Again, and all of these, if they're available with direct edition, that's what I'm going for. So this one, I've seen prices for this one kind of all over the place. I feel like it has dropped as well in recent years, months maybe. So we'll see. Haven't been, I think last year's convention I went to, I didn't really pay too much attention to any prices or any of the copies that I saw. That's kind of something kind of spot. But this year, like, all right, putting more focus on my ASM run. So I will be doing a little more research and price comparison for a copy of this book. So here's hoping. Continuing the ASM onslaught, that is right. Amazing Spider-Man number 50. First appearance, Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin. There he is. Yeah, gotta get the big guy. I do have 51, his second appearance here. Just this monumental figure within the world of within the Marvel Universe, from Spider-Man, Daredevil, and all this kind of criminal underground action. So yeah, just especially just that cover as well. Just iconic cover. Everybody knows what that book means. And yeah, just a cool book. So looking to add this one. This is another one I have done some research on, and I was close to kind of inching a little closer to a couple of copies. Like, ooh, should I get that now? But I was like, I'm gonna put it off and wait, do a little more research and kind of check out some more prices and see what kind of happens, especially just kind of saving up for stuff for this year. But yes, ASM 50 will definitely have a home in my collection before 2024 runs out. Assuming I'm not just going to go out and just pick up any copy. That's just go same for all these books. I'm obviously going to do my due diligence, looking for a nice looking copy at a good price. Not just going to go shell out on the first copy I see, no matter the price or condition. Let's not be crazy here, people. So still got to be smart about it. Next up, Amazing Spider-Man number 41. First appearance of the Rhino. This was another one I kind of debated when I picked up my ASM 46, first appearance of the Shocker. I was like, do I go after the Rhino one or the Shocker one? And I came across the Shocker one at a good price and nice condition. So I was like, all right, I'll get that one. And I kind of put the Rhino one off for a little bit. So, but that one is easily, it's not that, it won't be that hard, but definitely was like, all right, I want one. Like, Rhino's just a cool ass character. And if you're interested in some Rhino stories, go check out the, Spider-Man the Gauntlet, those Rhino issues. Dude, that was such a good read. I want to reread all that Gauntlet stuff again. But go check that out. Amazing Spider-Man. I can't even say it's Rhino's like real name. I think it's like Alexi. I can't remember the last name. It ends with like Vich or something like that. VICH or something like that. But yes, ASM 41, first appearance of the Rhino. It probably does have his origin there as well. I know sometimes certain books will just be first appearance and they won't talk too much about an origin, and some books they will. So I can't remember specifically how this one goes, but yes, ASM 41. Next up, we got Amazing Spider-Man number 40. This is the second in a two-part arc featuring the Green Goblin. I do have ASM 39, which I picked up at a small convention, and you haven't even seen that book yet. I have the haul video. I just never uploaded it. It's been recorded, edited, all that good stuff. I just never uploaded it yet. So at some point you will see that one, because that was one of the, and I mentioned it in that video, but probably one of the best convention shopping experiences ever. Even big convention, small, this was a small one-day show, and from small books to bigger books, it was just a fantastic shopping experience. And it was, especially some of those books were just absolute surprises. They were intended pickups. But anyways, ASM 41 got Spider-Man, got Green Goblin. I think it's his, he does he? I think it might be his quote-unquote death, maybe. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly, but you gotta love Green Goblin, love Spider-Man, and Green Goblin is obviously one of his best villains. And Spider-Man does have the best rogues gallery in comic books. You can debate about Batman, but I'm putting my vote with Spidey. So yes, ASM 40, that is right. And as we get closer to the top three, ASM number 9, first appearance of Electro. Another one of those fantastic baddies in Spidey's rogues gallery. Electro, Max Dillon is just, I love his costume, love his design, just visually is just cool as hell. And I wish movies wouldn't shy away from that comic book aesthetic. Give him the big Electro lightning bolt mask, that big yellow mask with the lightning bolts. It looks great. I don't care how corny people might think it might look. Put that on screen. Let him be, like, I don't know. Just let him be all his true comic book glory that he is. Electro is dope. Aesthetically pleasing, visually just fantastic. His power set and just the character he was. He was also in, if you remember, the New Avengers. When that debuted in 2005, he was part of the Breakout. He was right there in the beginning of that book, or that story. So yes, ASM number 9, first appearance of Electro. Looking at that one, have seen some copies. That one's a little bit of more investment, but we'll see what happens. So definitely a copy I'm going to be looking at some conditions and prices of in the upcoming months, conventions, and different shops. So ASM number 9. Now, obviously, Amazing Spider-Man is going to be the biggest kind of, I'm going to put a lot of focus into Amazing Spider-Man, as I've said already, but we're not steering away completely from X-Men, so don't get it twisted. X-Men is still number 1. So top 3 books are obviously going to be X books. So X-Men number 9, we go from ASM number 9 to X-Men number 9. This cool ass cover here. I like this cover. Kind of reminds me of the Avengers Annual number 10, which some people hate. I love that cover, the way it's kind of, all the characters out there, all the different panels. This one like this too. It kind of has the two rows there. You got Xavier and Lucifer on the bottom, and then X-Men versus the Avengers. It's the first time they meet up at the top section there, facing off, which is just looks fantastic. Got to have this one, single issue X-Men, another single issue X-Men for the collection. So definitely looking at this one. There was a copy. I have been eyeing a copy. So this one could potentially be one of the first ones to get crossed off this one list, because I'm just going to eventually just snag it up. So yes, X-Men number 9. And yeah, you're coming. X-Men Avengers. Let's do it. All right, people, we're getting closer to the top of the list there. So start putting your predictions together, what you might think my number 1 book on my want list will be for 2024. But number 2, X-Men number 2, first appearance of the Vanisher, as well as the second appearance of Marvel's Merry Mutants. Yes, it's just the next book that I will need to just finish work on the X-Men run, obviously. And X number 1 is not on here because it's going to be too much. There's no way that I'm going to be getting that book this year. I guess there's a potential that I could, but it's definitely one like, all right, it's going to be off in the distance a little bit, and I'm okay with that. Edge my way closer to it, and hopefully before anything happens with the MCU, before that book just skyrockets even further and goes completely out of reach. So we'll see what happens. But yes, X-Men number 2, we'll cover, decent cover, I should say, with Vanisher in the middle there, and all the X-Men and Professor X surrounding him. So the Vanisher doesn't even, it's kind of weird with the Vanisher and just the X-Men in general, especially with the early Silver Age stories, because it just weren't that, honestly, they weren't that great. And the Vanisher, and then you kind of got the Blob and all those versus, like, just, I think Amazing Spider-Man was just completely up here. Everybody else was a little bit, like, some ways below them. And X-Men's early Silver Age stories weren't that great. I feel like that's probably why they got soft canceled kind of later in the run. And just kind of the early stuff, like, okay, where do you kind of go with them? Just kind of weird stuff. But yes, X-Men #2. And now, here it is, people. Drum roll. #1 book on Gino's 2024 comic want list is, of course, Giant Size X-Men #1. First appearance of the new team. We got just so much going on here. 68 pages. It was 1975. Just new characters. You got Wolverine coming back from Incredible Hulk, Storm, Thunderbird, Colossus, Nightcrawler, and there's so many. I don't know. I'm always looking at this one, like looking at the prices, and sometimes they don't make any sense. Sometimes just come down and it bounces all around. There's graded raw copies. If I do get a graded copy, I definitely want it with the custom label, the Giant Size X-Men custom label, just for the perfect pairing there. But yeah, that is definitely a book I'm going to be seriously researching and comparing as the year goes on. So hoping to add that to the collection. That would just be a fantastic piece. Not even terrible. It's somewhat expensive, obviously, if you're not used to buying bigger books. But like grand scheme of things and some of the prices of other books, it's fairly affordable. So here's hoping we can kind of work our way towards that, and even probably potentially sell some other books or trades to kind of help the hobby fund itself and kind of cut some of that price down or cut down altogether. So we'll see what happens. But yes, that is it. And video ended up being a little bit longer than I wanted to, but we're talking about comics, so sometimes you kind of get lost in the thought and just enjoying the fun of this crazy world that comics are. So that's my 2024 comic want list. Now I want to hear about yours. What do you have on yours? If you even started yours, hey, you might have a shorter list. Maybe there's just one book you're after, or maybe you knocked off a bunch of books. We're a month and a half into the year already. You could have been like steadfast, laser focused on your list, and you're just knocking things off left and right there. So let's hear some progress. Hear some of the progress that you have. Or maybe you're after, you know what, I'm not going to go after too many bigger books. I'm going to slow down and stick to the dollar bin diving in quarter bins. Because, hey, there's tons of books, tons of gold there to fill out your collection. The reading material to be found everywhere. So I will definitely continue still diving in there as well. But yes, I want to hear everybody's thoughts in the comments below. And the official rebranding, as you've kind of seen, is officially complete. From the website to the socials, X/Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. It is officially Gino Talks Comics. So that's where you'll find me on everywhere. Change the email as well. If you need to reach out, got some questions, whatever, hit me up. Make sure you follow if you like this sort of content, that like button, and subscribe for more good comic book shenanigans. Let's get into it. Happy reading, happy on, happy collecting. Here's Gino Talks Comics, and peace out.